Hello and welcome. I am Lisa Marie Shakti Ma. I bring powerful transmissions to radically expand your consciousness and elevate your frequency. Today, I'm going to explore the energy of forgiveness. Forgiveness is our avenue, our gateway, ultimately into freedom, but also into gratitude. Gratitude is something we speak of a lot in the spiritual community. But you can't have gratitude for an experience if you have not forgiven all that were involved within that experience. Of course, this is referring to a difficult or challenging experience with another being, or potentially even yourself. When we hold ourselves in the victim perpetrator energy, pattern, and model, we basically disempower ourselves for that experience in that moment. We shut ourselves off from the one infinite love. We shut ourselves off from the love of that moment, the absolute unconditional love that was desiring to be expressed within that moment. Remember that unconditional love doesn't always look like the love that humanity has understood for so many years. Unconditional love is the infinite space of possibility. So whenever we have a challenging or difficult experience and we blame either ourselves or others, we close ourselves off to love, to joy, to bliss within that moment. And yeah, I am referring to even the most challenging of experiences. Even the most horrific experiences contain love and ultimately contain bliss. While it's not necessarily always easy to understand or even hear that, as you begin to forgive, you will take what I'm saying down into an experiential understanding. You will be able to see through forgiveness the absolute bliss of the moment, regardless of its expression, regardless of what occurred or how you felt, what you thought or believed. The forgiveness is the gateway into that bliss. The blame, the shame, and the judgment is the closing off of that energy and the disempowering of self. Forgiveness is not about the other person, unless, of course, the forgiveness is to yourself, because you are the other person. It's not about validating anything that happened. It's about breaking the chains of yourself within that moment. When we blame and shame and judge, create guilt, we tie ourselves, we lock ourselves into that experience in the form of trauma. And then, as you may know, that trauma is often repeated throughout our lives because we're quite literally chained into that experience. When we learn to forgive, we let that go. And instead of repeating those patterns, and instead of being chained into that moment, we take the essence of the experience with us, the wisdom of the moment, or what I call the golden nugget. We take that forward into our life and we leave behind the crap. We leave behind the trauma or the challenge, so to speak. And we can even leave behind the other person. Because once again, forgiveness really has nothing to do with the other person. It's a freeing of yourself. You don't need to go to the other person and say that you forgive them. You just need to bring forgiveness into yourself. Radiate that vibration. Allow it to be. Allow it to be in the moment. We often think that by blaming and having guilt towards somebody and judging, all of those energies, we have trained ourselves to believe that we have power over them through that, by holding a grudge, by holding them or the entire experience to that moment, to everything that occurred, holding ourselves within that, with the anger or the sadness, the blame, whatever emotions were there. But that's just trickery of the mind, trickery of the ego. Does not empower you. You have no power over the other person to hold a grudge to them. Any kind of energy like that is low vibrational. The high vibrational energy of forgiveness, of unconditional love, is the place of empowerment. And of course, the place of freedom. So you can invite in perhaps experiences or people that you are holding a grudge, that you are still blaming, that you are still judging, that you are resisting forgiveness. And just in this moment, realize how it makes you feel. If there's somebody that you're holding a grudge to, or that you're upset with, or did you wrong, whatever the expression is, and you tap into that person or that experience, you'll feel it. And what does it feel like? It doesn't feel good. Whatever emotion arises feels contracting and tightening because that is your emotional guidance system telling you that what you are experiencing in that moment, what you have taken on as belief about that whole experience, isn't fully true. Whereas when you bring in forgiveness and you really bring that energy in, massive expansion occurs. Bliss will arise, joy, and again, gratitude. Through that forgiveness, you can actually feel immense gratitude for that moment, for that experience. Through the forgiveness, you are then available to see the golden nugget. And there's so much gratitude there for why you went through that. Again, even the most horrific of experiences. Nothing is out of this ability. Forgiveness is something that, quite frankly, as humanity, we are being asked deeply to take in our hands. And this time in our society, we are being asked even more so as things are emerging, as horrific events are emerging, we have to step into forgiveness. Again, that doesn't mean that any of those people who have been responsible for these acts don't need to be tried and whatever wants to occur to them. It doesn't mean that we just let them go, pat them on the back, and tell them everything's okay. Again, the forgiveness isn't about them. The forgiveness is in creating that space for love to shine through the moment. Healing never happens in those lower vibrational energies. Never. I think all of you can attest to that. Healing happens within the high vibrational energies. And I want to point something out that's a little bit raw, so to speak. And that is the idea that we somehow know what's best, that we somehow know what's right or wrong. Humanity, the beings that have been unconscious for so long, somehow know the big picture and the divine orchestration of everything. So we get to be the judge, the jury, and executioners. You personally get to be the judge, jury, and executioner of that event. But remind yourself of karma. The universe is the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner. The universe, from a neutral space of absolute love, balances events and energies perfectly. Who are we to determine whether an experience should be held within blame, guilt, judgment, shame? Who are we, quite frankly? The vast orchestration that occurs in the universe, it is so magnificent and massive, intricate, and yes, vast. If you personally have ever been able to experience divine orchestration, you would know what I'm referring to. It can work on massive, vast levels and still intricately small and detailed at the same exact time. But regardless, it's always important to really ask yourself, with regards to those other people, are you the judge, jury, and executioner of their experiences? Really, the only judge, jury, and executioner you are of is your own experience. And even that, ultimately, you're not, quite frankly. Are you personally free of quote unquote sin? If you are self aware and honest with yourself on all, again, the many different layers in which we work on conscious and subconscious levels, you are not innocent in that sense. Innocent in the sense of if your intention was always in the right place, then you are relatively innocent. But again, who are we to judge? Who are we to claim anything? The only one that we can really look at is ourselves. We can hold ourselves accountable. But that doesn't mean that we blame, shame ourselves either. Once again, even that to self, even if you're judging yourself all the time and shaming yourself, it isn't any different than doing it to somebody else. It's completely disempowering. Can you forgive yourself for all the wrongdoings that you've done, created? Can you forgive yourself for the quote unquote wrong choices or potentially harmful things that you did to others? It's a beautiful space to start with forgiveness to yourself first. Though you don't have to. And if you can't forgive yourself, why? What belief do you hold so tightly that you cannot forgive yourself? It's important to be available to the answer that arises when you ask, can I forgive myself? Absolutely. Can I absolutely forgive myself for everything that I have ever done in this life and all parallel lives, all aspects of my being? Can I forgive? Can I forgive all of the other beings that I've had experiences with in all aspects of my lives and my expressions? And then ultimately, you can ask yourself, can you forgive God, Source, the one infinite love? Because through my experience of forgiveness, the most root layer, the most subtle of layers, is the anger towards God, or Source, one infinite love, whatever you wish to call or label, the infinite expression of awareness, love, light. Third density is all about experiencing the belief of separation. The density that we are currently moving out of, third density, is all about experiencing the belief of separation. I personally have felt that moment where we took on that belief, humanity. It was extremely painful to believe that we're separate from God, from infinite love. That infinite love is not always available to us in every moment. That belief is gut-wrenchingly painful. It feels like abandonment. It feels lonely, isolated, left behind, distrustful. Of course, the truth is that we're not separate, that we are pure expressions of one infinite love through filters, through veils, but still an expression of that energy. The same energy that is in this computer screen, the same energy that's in the wall behind me, the same energy that's in the camera that stares at me. It's all the same energy, expressed differently. So we're not separate. But what our belief did when we began to believe that we were separate, it was as if we pulled ourselves away. Of course, that's not true because we still are. And since we still are, we have no option but to be the one infinite love. There is nothing that exists outside of that energy. But through that belief, we shut ourselves off from the unconditional love. It's like a child who has pulled its knees up to its head and put its head down and put its hands over its head and just completely shut itself off from anything that's going on. Just completely shut down and convinced itself that it's alone, regardless of what is occurring around it, regardless if its mother is right there coaxing him or her out. Convinced, all alone, and not loved. That was the experience we were meant to experience for third density. Why? Because when you come back, so to speak, when you realize and therefore allow the one infinite love, the connection to, the realization of, it's a much deeper anchoring, a much deeper awareness and understanding. It's like the saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. We just had it gone for a very, 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 very long time. So forgiveness at that most subtle level opens you to that availability of love, unconditional love. But again, it's not conceptual. If you forgive on that subtle level, which usually has to occur after forgiveness of yourself and of others, as you go deeper into the rabbit hole, so to speak, and you reach that deep forgiveness, you have no choice but to experience the love in that moment, the gratitude, the bliss. And I really mean bliss. Or a massive smile on your face and you're giggling with joy and glee. Have you personally experienced that? Anytime that you have experienced bliss, you have experienced that which is always available to you. It was just in that moment, for whatever reason, you gave yourself permission to connect to it. Forgiveness on the subtle level re-anchors you back into that space. It's like being unified again, even though you never were separate. It's all through thought and belief. But instead of a conceptual understanding that you are a part of it, that it's available, that it's here, you experience it firsthand. So see in yourself right now where you potentially, again, don't forgive yourself. Just take a nice deep breath and allow the question to naturally create memories and images, not from the mind, but from your higher self, from higher mind. You can even ask yourself out loud, the power of your own voice. Where do I not forgive myself? Where do I still hold blame, shame, guilt, judgment of myself? And just breathe with a simple awareness of what arises. Of course, not actually blaming anything that shows up. Instead, bringing curiosity, potentially amusement, to what arises. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It was a doozy. I was an idiot or stupid or I failed or I shouldn't have or whatever comes up. Breathe and allow yourself to see where you hold yourself, where you have shackled yourself from the one infinite love. And there's now an offering to go deeper into that, perhaps more subtly, perhaps more subconsciously, perhaps memories or instances that you have forgotten or blocked out, but in which you still judge, blame, shame, guilt yourself. Breathe and allow a deepening of the question, deepening of the answers that arise. Where have I not forgiven myself? Where do I still blame, shame, guilt, judge myself? Emotions are arising. Allow them, just like the answers, to be present. There may be grief or sadness or anger, hatred, even embarrassment. And remember to allow yourself to feel and be aware of how you feel. Feeling tight, contracted, painful, emotionally, mentally, and perhaps physically painful. Take a nice deep breath. Can you forgive yourself for those experiences? Can you see yourself and those experiences through the eyes of infinite love, seen as perfect, regardless of the choices that you made, the actions that you took? Even if you harmed another, realizing the best way to fix, quote unquote, that is to forgive yourself and to move to allow expansion, to allow the expansion, holding ourselves in the past, chaining ourselves to experiences, contracting our energy does not serve anybody. Can you forgive yourself? Can you release yourself of the wouldas, shouldas, and couldas? Can you love yourself in that experience? Hindsight is always 2020. We can always say, would have, should have, could have. But in that moment, we did our best with the awareness that we had, with the beliefs and the patterns and the energy that we carried. Can you forgive yourself? Release yourself of the shackles. Releasing yourself into, back to infinite love of that exact moment. Allowing the love itself to hold you, to heal your wounds, to carry you forward. Can you forgive yourself? Can you break yourself open and allow the love to pour from your being? Breathe and allow. Breathe and allow. Allow it to occur. It's your natural expression. Just let go. Let go of the shouldas, wouldas, and couldas. Let go of the judgment, the blame, and the guilt. Let go of all of the pain. Let go. Can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive yourself? Say it out loud. I forgive myself. And breathe. Feel the resistance that you carry. And breathe and relax and allow. The resistance is merely thought. Let it go. Breathe and let it go. Breathe and make space for the truth of the moment. Make space for the golden nugget of the experience. Make space for yourself, your true self, and your embodiment of source energy. Deep breath. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Deep breath. Use your breath to make the space. Use the breath to expand the resistance, expand the pain. Use your breath to allow in the light, to allow in the love. You are not responsible for being perfect. You are responsible for loving yourself, for loving others. You are responsible for allowing the light of your being to be present regardless. The light of your being to be present regardless of your choices. Breathe. You are responsible for allowing the love to be, for seeing it, for validating it, for acknowledging its presence, for acknowledging its absolute, unconditional state. Using that as your springboard in which to thrive within even the most challenging of experiences. To thrive regardless of what occurs, regardless of your choices. Because you are deeply connected to truth, embodied within unconditional love, and therefore emanating, choosing through that energy. I forgive myself. And breathe. I forgive myself. And breathe. Opening, expansion occurring. Can you allow it? Can you allow in the light of your being? Can you see the perfection of you? can you let go? Deep breath. No amount of blame, shame, guilt, or judgment will ever undo that moment. So you have the choice of chaining yourself to it in a contracted, low vibratory state, or expanding through it, transmuting the energies. And moving forward within that new light, within that high frequency, obtaining and carrying the golden nugget of wisdom within you. Blind yourself with guilt, shame, judgment, blame. Open yourself to truth. Breathe. Forgive. Breathe. Let go. Breathe. Forgive. Feel, experience, connect to the energy of forgiveness coming into your space right now, like a warm blanket that erases the low vibratory energies, like a warm blanket that holds you. Connect and feel this vibration. Forgiveness. Just feel and connect to the energy that is being offered to you. Forgiveness. What does that feel like? Forgiveness. Breathe. Allow yourself to be present with this energy. Forgiveness. Notice the glory, the warmth, the fuzziness, the feel good energy within that vibration. Notice its calming force. Its nurturing force. Forgiveness. If you're unable to feel it, it's perfectly fine. Just notice, be aware that you are unable to connect to the vibration of forgiveness. And simply bring awareness to the resistance that you carry, even to the vibration of forgiveness. Just be aware and breathe. Forgiveness. Deep breath. Allow it into your space. Breathe it in, call it in, allow it in to your space, into your body, into your memories, into your experiences, wherever it desires to go. Can you allow it? Can you breathe and allow yourself to be marinated within forgiveness, to be encapsulated within forgiveness, to feel and experience the full expression of forgiveness? Can you vibrate like a tuning fork, matching, allowing the natural resonance of your field, your body, to match the vibration of forgiveness? Breathe and allow the matching of your field, your bodies, to the vibration of forgiveness. Notice your lightness. Notice the light. Notice the love. Notice the presence. If you're feeling other emotions and energies, invite them to match with your awareness, with your intention. Invite them to match the energy of forgiveness. And breathe, breathe, breathe. I forgive. I am forgiveness. I feel forgiveness. I acknowledge forgiveness. Breathe. And allow. Breathe. And allow. Allow the tears to fall. Allow the pain to leave. Allow yourself to be held within this light. You are already forgiven. Unconditional love never blamed you, never shamed you, never judged you. Within the eyes of the one infinite love, you're already forgiven. Allow yourself to experience that which already is. Already is. Ever present. Already here. Already forgiven. Breathe. Nice deep breath. One more. Draw awareness back to your body. As always, it's recommended that you repeat this several times. Each time you'll be taken deeper into the experience, deeper layers of forgiveness. And then, of course, you can take the same exact and do it towards others. Do it towards all of humanity. Do it to the entire universe. There are no limitations within forgiveness. Free yourself. Free yourself. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I love each and every one of you very, very much. Already forgiven.